everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Just Another Struggling Writer, the beleaguered author's one-stop shop for commiseration and hopefully inspiration. My name is Carrie Scher, and I am just another struggling writer. Well, today is New Year's Eve, and as such, it is the perfect time to talk about my New Year's writing resolutions. I brought along a bottle of my favorite wine, I've got 155 of my favorite people, and I've got a list of 17 writing goals and resolutions I would like to try and hit this year. Now, as a lot of people on this platform did, I went back and rewatched last year's New Year's resolutions video and focused specifically on my writing resolutions. And I was quite shocked and displeased to see that a lot of my 2024 writing resolutions very closely and alarmingly mirror my 2025 writing resolutions. I'm writing the same book I was writing last year. I have a similar word count per day goal. And I even made a resolution last year to track my daily word count better, something I have almost word for word written in this year's resolutions, proving above all else that 2024 was a simulation, a black hole, if you will, a blip in time, a distortion in reality. And if you watched my last video where I talk about those resolutions and my goals for the year, you'll know that I pretty much failed on all accounts, which brings us back here to the beginning of 2025 and what I hope to accomplish in the next 365 days. As I was sort of feeling bad for myself in considering this sort of Groundhog Day style writing resolutions, I decided to put all of that aside and make a list of literally every single writing ambition I have for the year. No matter how outlandish, no matter how unattainable, anything that I want to accomplish, I put it on this list. And then I decided to sort those things into 3 tiers. The first being the bare minimum. The things that if I don't accomplish these specific goals, I will have considered the entire year a failure. These are literally just the absolute bottom of the barrel. If I can't do this, I don't deserve to call myself a writer because it is truly just the bare minimum. And before we go any further, just a reminder that these are just my goals. Of course, your goals are going to look different. What you can achieve look different. If my bare minimum is not your bare minimum, that's okay. This is just my bare minimum. And then the second tier of goals is tough, but absolutely doable. And these are goals that will stretch my limits, push my boundaries just a little bit, make me a little bit uncomfortable where I'll have to really work and figure out how to fit them all into my schedule and to form new habits that weren't there before. But within the confines of my daily life, I know that they're doable if I do simple things like cutting out social media time or getting up just half an hour earlier. And then the third tier is completely unhinged. And these are the goals that in no way will be accomplished because they are simply just too much to ask for in 1 year. There are things I do want and things I want to get to eventually, but I just don't see them happening on top of every other goal and every other resolution, as well as my day job and my kids and everything else I have going on. But I wanted to put them out in the universe, something that should I meet every other goal, that is something a step further that I can reach for, because I have found that setting higher goals that are kind of unrealistic and maybe even completely unattainable, I push myself farther to brush the bottom of those goals, those too lofty goals. And in so doing, I reach heights that I wouldn't have otherwise if I had just set lower goals, more realistic goals. And yes, there is something to be said for the fact that New Year's resolutions are functionally useless. If you can't find the motivation and energy to dedicate yourself to something without the impetus of the new year, then you are never going to succeed in those goals anyway. And I think Lexi Nova in her most recent video put it best about type A personalities.
But again, I have been type A my entire life. Goals are the only way that I can make doing anything give me dopamine.
And that is exactly how I am. I am constantly making to-do lists and tasks and goals and thinking about how to maximize my productivity in a day. I have to have a checkbox, either mentally or in my notebook or on my Notion. That is what gives me the most sense of satisfaction. And so we're going to go ahead and push forward with this extremely deranged list. So let's start at the bottom, the bare minimum, the foundation upon which all other writing habits must be built. Because without this bottom, there is no path forward to any sort of writing in a meaningful way. And again, reminder, these are just my bare minimums. Your mileage may vary. Your bare minimums are not going to be my bare minimums. But number one on this list is to write 500 words a day. And I know I talked about not being motivated by specific word count goals, and that is still true. However, 500 words for me is something I can accomplish in about half an hour. And to me, if I can't carve out half an hour every single day, then I'm not really prioritizing writing. Half an hour is easy to find. That is something I can do after I have wrapped up everything else, put the kids to bed, done a little bit of reading, and I'm about to hop in the shower. I could do it even after I hop in the shower. I could do it on my lunch break at work. Half an hour is easy to find. And if I can't find half an hour, then again, I need to reevaluate what I'm doing. Now, of course, there are going to be days where that's just not possible. Maybe I'm traveling, or I'm dealing with a sick child, or something else has come up. There are going to be days where even a half hour is not feasible. So, as an addendum to this goal, I have also decided I would like to try and write 6 out of every 7 days of the week, accounting for the unexpected and the fact that I do at some point need time off, and I do like to take a day. Lately it's been Saturdays, sometimes it's Fridays, but I do like to have a day where I'm not beholden to any obligations, and that does include writing because, as we all know, writing is work. It might be fun, but it's definitely work, and it is definitely mental labor that, as someone who works in a very mentally laborious job, is not always in surplus. So yes, there are going to be days where I am simply wanting to come home and put on my sweatpants and a basketball game and not think about writing. And so I am giving myself the grace to take a day off. Even with that day off every single week, I would still be writing over 300 days out of the year, which at 500 words a day would still be a very respectable total at the end of the year, more than enough to write a full-length novel. So by building in those grace periods, I'm hopefully preventing eventual burnout while also staying on track with my writing goals. The next absolute bare minimum goal for this year is to finish the first draft of Seekers of Empyrean. And this is one of those goals that I have been kind of embarrassed about because when I went back and rewatched that resolutions video from last year, one of my goals was to finish the first draft of Seekers of Empyrean. And the reason this is a bare minimum is because I'm already 30,000 words deep into it, and at 500 words a day, the remaining 60,000 words is very attainable in the next 6 months. Unless I get hit by a bus, there really isn't much excuse to not finish this first draft. Yes, it's the bare minimum. At 500 words a day, there is very little in the way that should prevent me from getting there. Once I do get there, it will be a huge boost to my confidence as a writer. The next goal in this bare minimum, bottom of the barrel, foundational set of goals is I want to start world building my next project. And why is this a bare minimum? Well, the reason is once I get into a drafting habit, I don't want that habit to be broken by having to stop and do the world building and outlining phase. What I would like to do is kind of do that in pieces as I am working on the draft and hopefully revising Seekers of Empyrean. So that way, when I'm ready to take a break from that project, whether I just need some distance from it before I tackle revisions, or if it's, God forbid, ready to be queried, I already have something new I can start working on right away. And my intention with this is not to take the place of Seekers of Empyrean, but to work on once I have hit certain goals for Seekers of Empyrean, whether that be a certain word count a day or finishing the first draft or what have you. I want this to be a reward for working on my current project, not replacing it. So in theory, by the end of this year, I would like to have at least the world building phase completed for a second project. I already know what it is. I've already got it picked out. It's not the sequel to Seekers of Empyrean. I know better than that. It's a completely different project, and it's in a secondary world, so it will require extra world building effort, which is why I think it behooves me to get ahead of it early. And then another goal for this bare minimum would be to just track my daily words. The program I use is called Dabble. It is cloud-based, and it really only tracks your words for the last 30 days on a rolling basis. So it's not really useful for tracking your trends in terms of your writing unless it's within the last month. Maybe there's a paid feature that I just don't have access to, but otherwise I just haven't found it. I can see the last 30 days and that's it. So I did go ahead and sign up for a TrackBear account. I also have a couple of spreadsheets that I downloaded many years ago and never used that look like they're useful, where you can track each project, how many words, how much time you spent on it. We'll see. I haven't really made a decision in that regard, but my goal is to use a combination thereof to keep track of my daily words. So that way I can kind of monitor my progress and my trends. So that way if I see, oh, I'm really having trouble writing on Wednesdays because my daughter has a weekly appointment on those evenings or whatever, then I'll be able to adjust. Maybe Wednesdays is the day I should take off every week from writing, or maybe I should try writing on my lunch break so I'm not pushing it off to the evening. That is my goal with tracking my words, is to just help keep me accountable and help keep me aware of what is and isn't working. And then lastly, I would like to start doing quarterly reflections of my writing progress. And this is really just for me to, again, keep myself accountable and kind of stay on top of what processes are and are not working so that I can adjust if need be, rather than just waiting to the end of the year and be like, oh yeah, I burnt out after 3 weeks. Oops. So by hopefully doing these quarterly check-ins, I can be like, oh, okay, I went really strong for 3 weeks and then I fizzled out. Maybe I should use the first 3 weeks as a launch pad and like slowly ramp up. Anyway, that is kind of the idea with these quarterly check-ins, is to monitor my progress and hopefully find ways to improve. And those are my bare minimum. I don't accomplish anything else. If I get these done, I will count the year as a success. But if I don't get them done, the year is a failure. This should be the absolute minimal effort required to get these done. No matter how many excuses I try to make, I can do all of these things with ease. The next category of goals is tough but doable. And as I mentioned before, these are things that I'm a little bit nervous about, but I think that with just a little bit of extra effort, a little bit of reprioritizing, and a little bit of mindset shifting, I can hit all of these goals as well. And the first one is stepping up my word count targets by quarter. And by that I mean, if I'm starting the year off writing just 500 words a day, what I would like to do is quarter by quarter step up those word count targets so that I am slowly building up my stamina, as it were, to write more and more each day, with the idea of it being like going to the gym. If you haven't exercised in 5 years, you're not going to go down to the gym tomorrow and run a 6-minute mile. You're going to have to amp yourself up and work into it. And it's the same idea with writing. I have not been in a consistent writing habit in a while, even though I've made some strides over the last couple of months. It's still not where I'd like to be. So in order to build that habit and to get myself back to where I would like to be, I'd like to kind of step up those word count totals by quarter. So if I'm starting at 500, maybe in quarter 2 go up to 750, and then in quarter 3 1,000, and up to 1,250, which was what I was writing every day when I was working semi-professionally writing romance novellas. So I know that it's absolutely possible. We're not going to talk about how I got really burnt out from doing that. If 500 words a day is half an hour, 1,250 would be just over an hour, and I think I can probably squeeze that in. But again, That's not something I want to do right now. I'd like to build up my strength and my stamina first. The second goal in this tier of resolutions is not only would I like to finish the first draft of Seekers of Empyrean, I would like to get draft 2 done as well. That's right. Once I am done with the first draft of Seekers of Empyrean, I would like to get straight into crafting a revision plan and onto draft 2. This novel is only supposed to be 90,000 words, and if I'm writing 500 words a day, there isn't really an excuse to not hit a second draft as well. And frankly, I am just sort of tired of being someone who is always working on a first draft. I want to get to that damn second draft, and I know that I can. I just have to push myself to get over that first draft hump. Now, once I get there, I may not know what the hell I'm doing because I've never gotten to a second draft before, but I really enjoyed the editing process when I was working semi-professionally, and I did attempt very briefly editing as I go for other projects in the past. So I do know that I like the editing process. I love cutting. I love trimming things. I love making things concise and tight. I love printing out the pages and slashing whole paragraphs. So I think that I will really enjoy the editing process once I get there, but I'm also a little bit nervous that I'm gonna do it wrong, but I won't know until I try. And so I want to try. I want to get there before the end of the year. The third of these tough but doable goals is to find critique partners. And the reason this goal is in this category is because I don't know how to talk to people on the internet, or otherwise actually, but I have found it really, really difficult to put myself out there in that way. And so yes, this is one of those goals that will, yes, stretch my limits and push my boundaries a little bit beyond what I'm comfortable with, but ultimately it is necessary. I'm gonna need feedback. I'm going to need people to look at my work critically and give me constructive criticism so that I can make the draft better. And I really want to provide that to someone else. I just haven't been in a position to do that. So consider this an open invitation. The next goal is kind of out of my hands, but I think I do play a part in it, and that is to grow this channel to 500 subscribers. And I plan on doing that first by changing the content for this channel. As I have mentioned a couple of times by now, I have decided to split my reading content off onto another channel and just focus this one purely on writing. And I think that will help more writers find my content. What I can do to help this is, of course, staying consistent, not just with the content I'm producing, but how often, and making sure to continue to reach out to other creators as I have tried to do over the last month or two. I'd also like to participate in more live streams. I haven't had the chance yet because unfortunately the few creators I follow, they tend to schedule them at times where I am not available. I cannot do in the middle of the work week. I cannot. I might be able to tune in and listen kind of on the down low, but it's not something I can actively participate in just because the nature of my job, I can't always predict when I'm going to have a lunch or when I'm going to be at my desk or when I'm not going to be needed for something. During the workday, not really great. And also weeknights when I have my kids tend to not work out. I usually have something going on in the evenings. So it tends to only be on the weekends. And anyway, so that is a whole other kettle of fish. But I am going to try and actively seek out more writing live streams to at least pop into, partially to grow that community, but also to help motivate me to stay on task as well. And kind of on a similar note, I would like to start hosting live streams. For my purposes, probably wouldn't be more than once or twice a month on Friday nights when my kids are with their dad. So that way I am not sacrificing time with my kids to be on a live stream for 2 hours, but that is my intention. Also bearing in mind that my writing space is in my bedroom, and I do have to share my bedroom with a partner who occasionally likes to sleep in here. So early morning doesn't really work. That is something I'm still kind of ironing the details out of. Probably not for the first month. Almost certainly won't appear in January, maybe later in the year once I get everything figured out, but that is something I would like to try doing again. Another one of these goals is to have that second project that I will be working on in the creases draft ready by the end of the year. I talked about world building with my bare minimum goals, but I want it to be outlined and completely ready to start drafting by the end of the year as well. Again, the idea being that once I am ready to take a break from Seekers of Empyrean, with the understanding that I'll probably be working on it for most of the year with the various revisions, I would like to have a new project on standby when I am ready to take a break. And then lastly, in this category, I would like to do weekly drabbles. I hope you all watched my drabble video that I posted last month, but if you didn't, here's the quick rundown. Drabbles are a form of flash fiction of precisely 100 words in length that are designed to test an author's brevity and ability to convey ideas in a concise way. They are my favorite form of flash fiction by far. I have been writing them since I was a teenager doing fan fiction, and I find them to be a great palate cleanser from whatever I am working on, or a stimulant to get my creative juices flowing when I have been stuck. I had a lot of fun making that drabble video, and that kind of got me thinking that might be something fun for me to do as a side project every week. Just make a short of me writing a drabble and encouraging others to participate in writing drabbles. I've got some ideas about that, and I'm probably going to kickstart those the first weekend of the year, coming up on this Sunday. It's just something where I have a single word prompt and I write it and I post it and just make that part of writing activities that I do on this channel. And that is it for my tough but actually doable goals. And now I've got 4 completely unhinged, no chance in hell are they ever getting done goals for 2025. And these are just meant for me to push myself towards them and hopefully reach farther than I would have if I hadn't set them. But undertaken with the understanding that it ain't happening. Number 1, have Seekers of Empyrean query ready by January 1st, 2026. Do I think that's going to happen? Hell no, because that would mean finding critique partners, as I said, finishing not just one draft, not just true drafts, but likely at least 3 drafts, getting feedback, implementing that feedback, and then crafting a query letter. All in 365 days. I have absolutely no doubt that this is possible for some writers. I am dubious that it is possible for me considering everything else. I do have all those responsibilities. And so, no, I don't think Seekers of Empyrean will be query ready by the end of 2025. But if I can finish draft 1 expeditiously, if I can get a second draft under my belt, if I can find critique partners and get their feedback in a timely fashion and get started on a 3rd draft, maybe it's possible. I doubt it, but maybe. My second completely unhinged writing goal of 2025 is to longhand draft a second project while working on revisions for Seekers of Empyrean. Y'all, I want to do this so bad. The only reason this is on this list is because I want to do it so bad. I want to be a person who can work on 2 projects at once. And I love longhand drafting. I miss it so much. And there is a certain sort of appeal to the idea that I could work on longhand drafting this project during the day and then go home and do revisions at night. Do I have a day job? Yes. Will they allow me to do that? Probably not. But it's just such a romantic idea to be working on 2 projects at the same time. It's not going to happen. In no way am I going to have my secondary project, which I don't think I've mentioned the name of, but it's tentatively titled Daughters of Necessity. There's no way I'm going to world build Daughters of Necessity, outline Daughters of Necessity, and start a draft, all while trying to finish the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd drafts of Seekers of Empyrean to have it query ready. Remember, by the end of the year. There's no way. There's just no way I have that sort of bandwidth. But ooh, it's a nice thought. And then my 3rd completely unhinged goal is to do weekly live streams. That isn't happening. There's just no way. I can't find a day every single week where I can make that happen. But my best case scenario is every other week. But I guess it's theoretically possible that I become wildly popular and the live streams are a staple of my content and I can't possibly fathom not doing them every single week and I somehow find a way to make it work. Doubtful. But again, not impossible. And then finally, beginning where we started, writing every single day. No excuses, minimum 500 words. I make a lot of excuses on this channel. I make a lot of excuses in my life. I make a lot of excuses for a lot of different reasons and for a lot of different things. The excuses aren't going to be eliminated just because the calendar turned over, okay? I know myself better than that. There's no chance in hell I'm going to be able to write every single day. I'm going on a cruise in July. I'm planning a vacation at my dad's house in Kansas for the Super Bowl because Kansas City's gonna make it to the Super Bowl. You heard it here first. There are going to be days where I'm not writing. There just are. So no, this isn't going to be possible. Even if I decide to give myself a caveat that I make up those words on other days. It's just not going to happen. Don't even think about it, Carrie. It's not happening. And there you have it. 17 writing goals ranging from absolute bare minimum, have to complete if I want to consider myself a real writer, to completely out of this world, unhinged. I said at the beginning of this video that 2024 felt like a sort of time warp for my writing goals, and my hope with this batshit loco list is that I don't experience the same deja vu at the end of 2025, and really that's the ultimate goal. While yes, I did make some strides in 2024, the fact that I feel like I've been spinning my wheels and that I have come up on the same exact goals as last year has given me sort of a chip on my shoulder, and like I have something to prove. And I look forward to proving to myself that I am a real writer, I can do this, and that 2024 was in fact a simulation. I am officially out of wine, and it is time to wrap up this video. Thank you so much for watching. I so appreciate it. If you like my content and want to support the channel, please like and subscribe. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, please leave me a pen emoji for my longhand drafting goal. In my next video, I will bring you the very first writing vlog of 2025. I hope you look forward to it, and I will see you then. Bye.